Hey, what's up everybody? That little clip is of this long video. You're gonna see I've got a fellow trainer from another state that came up. We did some training and I was helping her with her 13-month-old Malinois that she refers to as being a very civil Malinois. This dog bites people, bites her, all this stuff. So you're gonna see me take the dog for the first time. We are not gonna do any edits, any cuts, anything like that. So I interview her, and then once I take the dog, that's when I start. And so you'll see it all the way through. You'll see me doing a bunch of fixes, getting a lot of stuff done. And then I even pass the dog back to her without any cuts. And then I have her start doing some exercises to get the dog under control for her. And then we do a little bit of talking. And then while I'm working the dog, I will be narrating over this video, explaining to you what I'm doing and what I'm fixing during the process. So for those of you that always say, well, how do you train the dog? How do you get them there? What do you do? Where's the rewards? Where's the corrections? All this is super important because you're gonna see me take this dog for a duration of time and fix things without any of that stuff even being in there. Because I've talked about this all the time, that's how we train. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, leave them. I'll do the best I can to respond. And I hope you like it.
I was making that so difficult. Okay.
Yep, we're good. Okay, so how old is he?
He is 13 months old.
All right, and so I just walked in the room and you said he's very civil. Why do you say he's civil?
He likes putting teeth on people and that excitement. I think he thinks that's his fun.
Okay, and how much have you done with him? What does he know? Show me what he knows.
He knows just sit, which is like look at me.
Okay.
And then good, continue, and then YS as a he can break the behavior to come and get something. I didn't bring his treats in.
That's okay. Just show me what you have on him so far. You know, it ain't gonna be perfect.
Yep. Sit.
Very good. Okay.
Good. Sit. Good. No.
And I'm just gonna move, okay?
Okay.
So we'll just see what happens when I start moving.
Yep.
Can you make him sit now?
Mm-mm.
Try, just try.
Okay. Come here, Ripper.
And he tries to bite you when you do that?
Yep. Sit.
Okay, so everybody can see right here, I've got no equipment on, I'm not doing anything. I didn't agitate him or anything, I just walked in the room, right?
Just your presence.
All right, and then I said something to you about his tail.
Yep.
What'd you say about his tail?
His tail, I was told he's losing hair on his tail because he constantly spins in the crate and weaves back and forth. Not calm at all.
All right, and have you ever put a collar on him before? A remote collar?
No.
Okay,
No.
So that's what we're about to do.
No.
So we're gonna get some stuff set up here. We're gonna start working him, and then we'll be back in just a second.
Okay.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna do a little talking over this video to kind of explain to the process. This dog does not like other people coming in the room, as you guys could see in the initial interview. And so right now, I'm just trying to even touch the dog's head. So we put a muzzle on the dog, obviously, because we know we have a committed biter, and we don't want to get hurt. We also don't want the dog to get hurt. So what we're doing is we're just letting him experience that there's no attacking available. It's gonna be able to stop me from touching him. And so you can see that I'm keeping him from running away by just stepping on the line. And I'm just working through this entire process of just keeping him with me and then just keeping him from being able to avoid. And then you'll see me do things like this, like put my hand on his head or push on the muzzle. What I'm doing is I'm triggering the same behavior that we're trying to get rid of. That's the only way to get rid of it. You have to be able to do the things with the dog that you can't do. That's what fixes it. So for me to go through an entire session and avoid touching him or avoid causing him to go into one of these fights, it would just be a wasted session. So I need to do the things that he does not like. So touching him on his back, touching his head, touching his muzzle, walking near him, doing any of that, that's all the stuff we're gonna keep doing. And then what you'll see is, as time goes by, he starts to become more and more comfortable until I touch him in another area. So you'll see that once I find triggers, I focus on those triggers and I keep tapping into those triggers until they're not a trigger anymore. And then what I'll do in some cases is I'll just escalate it. So in this case, he's to the point where he's just throwing his head around so much. What I'm doing is I'm just holding onto the muzzle so he can't throw his head around anymore. And so I'm just gonna start moving around with him and then just getting him to follow with me. So until we get him to just understand that he cannot avoid this. And we're not doing a bunch of movement. You can see that we're just doing some starts, some stops, a turn here, a step here. And a lot of my turns are based off of whatever way he's going. If you think about it, it's kind of like with a rodeo. You're not gonna stop the bull from you know, bucking, you know, so you got to kind of like stay with the dog. So if the dog spins a certain way, I'll spin that same way just to help the dog realize that there's no amount of jumping or spinning that's going to get me to take my hand off the muzzle. And you'll see it dial down, and then you'll see it go back up and dial down again and go back up. But the whole point is he's just trying to, because he can't fight me, you'll see him going into a situation where he's trying to avoid me now. So he'll just kind of like try to back away from me or spin out from me. And even when it looks like we're starting to get on track, it's just very temporary. So it's very temporary in these moments, because once we start doing stuff with him, you know, he's going to recharge again. So it's very exhausting for him to exert that energy and try to muzzle punch me or fight and all that stuff. So he'll kind of tone down for a minute, and then he'll recharge again, and then he'll try to come back at me again. And we're going to go through this little dance for just a little bit. And you can see in some of these cases, like things that were causing him to react or muzzle punch me or get vocal with me, they're not really triggering anymore. All right, so now we're going to take him over and we're going to start having him do things that he, again, doesn't want to do. So we're going into avoidance. But the most important part about this is that we're always teaching the dog how to go to specific places or do things by what I refer to as an invitation versus force. So whenever we start forcing situations or forcing animals, we get a lot of push or pull. So that's oppositional reflex that a lot of people refer to that as. And so my job is to eliminate any type of confrontation or fight in the training whatsoever. So if I can get the dog to do something with me by invitation, then it's always a lot easier when the dog is willing to do it versus trying to force them to do it. So basically by going to a box and putting myself on the other side of the box and inviting him on the box, it's a way better chance of getting him up there than trying to go up there and drag him on the box. All right, so now we're gonna get into leaving him and kind of just moving around the room, because this is what happens sometimes when you leave the dog and you come back to them, things will flare back up. And obviously I don't trust him, he doesn't trust me. So I'm not sticking my face down there. You'll see me pick the leash up with my feet quite a bit, but just going back into things again. And so as we start getting behaviors in here, what I want and what I like, you'll see me start doing an exaggerated version of that. So I'm gonna move a lot farther. I'm gonna add some turns in. We're gonna go to different areas of the room that we haven't been before. So sometimes that will trigger the behavior again too. We'll circle back around, hit the box again. You know, we'll have him get on the box while I'm still touching his muzzle, not letting him look down at the box to see where he's at. You know, there's a lot of these things that are taking place. And again, we expect some breaks. We expect the dog getting up, but what we want is we're trying to lessen the fight when the dog's doing all this. And so if the dog hops off the box again, we're not telling him he's a horrible dog. We're not, you know, trying to make him feel bad or anything. I just stop the dog. I just take him back where I had him at, and I just put him back in the same position I had him before. And I just repeat the process over and over again. The easiest way to fix stuff is to just go right back to what it is that you were doing. All right, so now we're gonna start getting some more turns in the box. This is always very hard for any dog, not just this dog. A lot of dogs do not have the ability to turn. So I want them to be able to turn so I can keep his head on me. It's so important that he pays attention to me and not everything else in the room, especially for his owner. The reason why she has a lot of problems, you could see that me walking around the room in the initial part of the video caused him to just kind of go off. And so his head's on me, his brain's on me, everything's on me. And you'll see at the end of the video, when I have to take over, we're gonna get his head on her, and then everything else in the room just kind of dissipates, and it's not really a problem anymore. All right, so now we're just having him hop off of a box. A lot of people are, you know, they're used to seeing this stuff where when they get the dog off of an object, or, you know, they get the dog out of their vehicle, or they walk through a door, the dog just kind of explodes through. So you'll see me having him get off of objects, but instead of exploding past me or just running away, I just have him come straight to me. So I'm getting him to think more about me and be aware of where I'm at and what I'm doing. So again, we spent some time on the box, spent some time leaving him there, and now we're back to muzzle fighting again. We're going back into avoidance. You see me hold on a short line. And so I'm not really trying to fight with him or pull on him. More so just trying to get him to move with me. And we got some more thrash in there, and we're trying to, I'm keeping him off from me, and you know, when he comes up, I'm trying to keep his head up and keep his paws off. And you can see the second he goes, I'm not hanging him off the ground. We definitely don't want to do anything like that. We don't want to take his air. These slip leads, you got to be careful with these slip leads, because these slip leads are super dangerous, especially the one that she gave me. And again, it's not anything with her, but this slip lead was a very thin slip lead. It was almost like a show lead. And so like it got tight really quick. Like you got to be careful about that, especially if the dog starts rolling. You just don't want it to cut off their air. That's the most important thing. We're not looking to take air from this dog. We're not looking to dominate this dog. All right, and so now we've been moving forward, and so it's super important to get this dog to move backwards. So you're gonna see me start moving him backwards, just getting in his head and getting him to understand he's got to go the direction I want him to go when I want him to go. And you'll also see me every once in a while just kind of reaching down and grabbing his muzzle, but not only grabbing his muzzle now I'm kind of shaking his muzzle, kind of like agitating his muzzle a little bit. What I'm trying to do is I'm still trying to trigger all those behaviors that would come out before with just me even touching his muzzle. So now we're just doing exaggerated versions of that. So we got him walking forward pretty good. We got him walking backwards pretty good. Again, this is the first time I've ever touched this dog. You know, he's putting the brakes on, so you'll see that I don't sit there. I just, if he puts the brakes on, I don't drag him. There's no pulling in this at all. You know, there's sometimes where I'll give him a tiny little tug, but I'm not dragging this dog across the room. So if he puts brakes on, I'm just creating a little bit of distance between me and him, and I'm bringing the dog to me. So I'm just getting it out of his head that he has the ability to put brakes on. So again, now we're leaving him on the box, we're opening doors, we're going different directions. And you'll see again, like I said, I'm not gonna stick my face down there, and it's just another distraction. So me picking up that line and playing with him with my foot, stuff like that, it's just another distraction. So again, we're getting off the platform, coming straight to me, and you'll see me kind of like going in circles around him to get him to face me. Crouching down is another thing that I do. That's a universal invitation. We're just getting the dog to come to us. Again, back into walking around, holding my hand. Same thing again, changing directions, getting him to turn around on me. Dropping down to bring him into me even more. He tries to run past me, he tries to push through me. I just let go of him and I just bring him back to me. So again, there's not anything where I'm like fighting him. There's not anything where I'm trying to force him. It's just like, hey, we're going this direction, we're gonna go. So now you're seeing me throw in a lot of fast pace, changing different directions, and then stopping. So that's a big thing for dogs, is starting, stopping, fast pace, slow pace, all that different stuff, just making him be aware of me. All right, and so now I've got him staying there. We're going to the next thing. I'm bringing the chair out. Yeah, that's where I grab a bed, he breaks. It's not a big deal. I just kind of let him go. I drop the bed. I walk over. You can see like there's no panic in there where I'm like, oh my God, don't get up, you know, or bad dog. I just walk over, pick him up, and we just get right back on track. So putting him on new platforms that he hasn't been on before. Walking him around, getting him to turn on the platform, holding on to his muzzle. Good, and again, I'm not trying to pry him around or pull him around. Bringing him to me off the bed. Running again, bringing him right back to me. Picking his muzzle up from squatting down. So now I'm just throwing in a crap load of variations of everything that I've been doing with him, just getting him to move with me and everything else. Good, we're gonna do some turns here, it looks like. Getting some more turns in here. All right, and this is where I'm gonna try to do things to get him to break from place, which is just like, you can see I'm just dragging this chair. I'm not trying to be nice about it, easy about it, but it bothers him. So again, I'm looking for things to fall apart so I can fix them. All right, I don't wanna run things so smooth that we don't make any changes. If we don't have any interruptions or we don't have any breaks, then we don't have anything that we're fixing. We're leaving the training session the same as when we came in. When we do a training session and I got things that are falling apart, and then I could work him until he doesn't fall apart during those things, then we can say we've had success and growth there because we got through things we couldn't do during the lesson. Bringing him right off the box to me on the floor. You see, he's getting a little bit more comfortable with me. Still doesn't, there's no like trust relationship here. I'm just working with the dog, just getting him familiar with the stuff. And the idea is if we actually ran this dog through this stuff daily, you know, it ain't gotta be an hour long, but if you ran the dog through something like this daily, this would just become normal for the dog. This dog has spent a lot of time getting away with a lot of things. And again, it's nothing against his trainer or anybody out there who trains this way, but people spend a lot of time trying to buy behavior by telling the dog good and trying to motivate them and trying to get them to like them or get them to like the box or get them to like people. And it's just not gonna happen. So, I mean, it may happen 5 years down the road, but we don't have 5 years to wait. So I'm just showing that like we're just getting all this stuff done just by moving the dog around the room. All right, now you see me starting to drop the leash and then I'm calling him to me and I'm getting him to come to me now. So we're kind of changing the picture here where I'm not going to him, he's got to start coming to me. And so I want him to find me versus me going to grab him now. All right, so now we're gonna get into running in and out of the doors. You see that's a provoking, because like she said, somebody comes in the room, it's a problem. So I've been working all this stuff, getting some rapport with this dog and getting some things established with him so we can get into the harder stuff that really triggers him. So people taking off running, and like I said, people coming to the door and running, and we're gonna get into some fights here again. So like, yeah, right there, he starts to do like a half fight, but watch how quick this goes down. So again, we're just staying right back on track, and you'll see like how quick this all just goes away right here. It's nothing like what it was when we first started. He's already coming back to me, already walking with his head, you know, right there in the palm of my hand, putting him back on his bed, turning him really easy. There's no fighting here. You can just see the way I'm moving with him. I'm not really pulling on him or anything, but I'm not trying to be easy either. You know, you can see I'm not lightening it up. I'm being dramatic with my steps. I'm being dramatic with all that. So, and again, I'm making, like, here's a part where he just put the brakes on, give him a little tug. But the whole point is to fix what he can't do. So if it gets to a point where he's having trouble, for me to back off of that area, I'm not fixing the area he has trouble. So if I back off and I lighten things up, we didn't fix anything, because as soon as I go back to the level that caused problems, the problems are still gonna be there. And again, we're just getting through here and getting these fixes done. So we're getting ready to get into where I start explaining things, and then I'm gonna bring her back out and we're gonna run her through the process. So, but hope you guys understood the explanation to a degree.
Last time breaking happened when I talked. So running didn't do anything. Once we fix running, then when you speak, what do you do? As soon as I spoke to you, he'd charge me again. So what we're doing is we're finding everything he can't do. We're finding everything that causes him to fight. And then basically we're fixing everything as it goes, all right? How many times have I told him he's a horrible dog?
0.
How many times did I tell him good for being good? What did I do with him? Do you know? I pressed the button 4.5 times if he did this. I spun in a circle and then did up, down, left, right, A, B, start. Right? You know what that is? I don't either. So there is no pattern or reason or rhyme. We're fixing things in the moment, okay? So you ready?
Yes.
All right, so now what we're gonna do, Erin, would you do me a favor? Would you record for her? We're gonna keep it going, okay? All right, so we're changing him from reacting all the time to everything. All right, so he's explosive. Somebody comes in the door, like you said, you could get him to sit with the leash until I started moving. Once I started to move, you're like, I'm not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
So doing anything with him under any other circumstances other than what causes problems is an absolute waste of time, right? And so once we get things, we start piling on. Piling on was asking for more things, starting to make him turn, dropping the leash and getting the same performance, putting him on different objects, dragging the chair to cause him to break the behaviors that we were building a minute ago, opening doors and running, opening doors and talking. So by the end of the week, how far could this dog be if we did this every day?
think pretty far.
Unbelievably far.
With you, yeah.
Right? But with you too, because we're going to change the way you do things. So you already know you're going to have a lot of bad habits, right? When you come in here, right?
Yep.
Okay, so everybody does. Anytime we start something new, every person who starts something new, what do they go through? The difficulty of change, right? And in the process of that, they spend more time beating themselves up than just staying on track. So we already know you're going to make mistakes. The only thing I don't want you to do is focus on the mistakes. Just listen to me, my Barry White voice, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll walk you through it, okay? All right, go ahead and come over here.
On your right side?
It don't matter. There is no rules, all right? So first thing you're gonna do is just take this leash, all right? And what I want you to do now is just start walking backwards. Yep. Yep.
Cool.
Stop right there. You don't need to say anything to him, okay? So that's the best thing we can do is take away all your talking just so it can be very clear for the dog. All right, so we're gonna start walking backwards again. Go ahead. Good, stop right there. Now when he goes to your side, I want you to spin. You're gonna stay in the same spot. I want you to spin and face him. You're gonna stay in the same spot. That's the hard part. See how she just shifted twice? Everybody does it.
Pivot.
That's it. You're just gonna pivot and spin, okay? Start walking backwards again. Good, stop right there. Perfect, put your hand on top of his head and hold it there. Just put it on his head and hold it. Very good. So the one thing we've already got changed right off the bat is the fact that a minute ago, and it may come out, like you saw where he would respond to me touching the muzzle and then he would stop. And then he would go back to it like a few minutes later. In this scenario, we have the same thing. I couldn't even come up to her. I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. He would be at the end of the leash, exploding, going crazy. So that's already an exact change right away, okay? This is another change too, is him just sitting there stationary with his head up on her in a sit position, okay? So now what I want you to do is the same thing. You're gonna walk backwards, but I want you to walk backwards that direction. Walk backwards that direction.
Just turn and walk?
You're gonna walk backwards that direction. Yep, so spin your back that direction, good. Perfect right there. Turn your back to me, start walking. Very good, stop right there. Wherever he lands, face him. Perfect. Nice, so the other thing we're teaching is that when I move, you move. When I stop, you stop. Put your hand on top of his head again. Perfect. Okay, so we're getting him to bring his head up by putting our hands where? Above his head. So if I want the dog to go higher, me telling him in a verbal communication that he knows nothing about because we think he understands, absolutely does nothing. Me taking my body to a particular part where I want him to come to is more powerful than anything, more powerful than food, more powerful than a ball, more powerful than anything. Actions speak louder than, and talk is what?
Cheap.
So for us to stand here and talk to him and tell him he's bad, or us to stand here and tell him things he doesn't even know how to perform, what benefit do we get out of that? Absolutely nothing. So we know that if he wants to do something, he does it, right? So if she didn't have that leash on him and he wanted to come chew me to pieces, do you think he'd stand over here and talk about it? Or do you think he'd just take off? When they can't reach us, that's when they start being vocal, right? So if he takes action, how are we gonna change things when we don't take action? Does that make sense? See where the head goes this way, right? Look at me, you can look at me. See where the head went this way?
Yeah.
I want you to barely sidestep that way, just barely. Where'd you just pull the head to?
To me.
So we never chase the dog. If I want him to look this way, guess where I go? I don't tell her to move, I don't tell her to hide, I don't tell her she's being a distraction, so leave the room. That's training 50 years ago. This is, we fix things right here, right now. If he doesn't know how to do it, we help him by showing him. We don't just hammer him, we don't kick his butt, we don't yell at him, we don't yank on the leash, we don't try to bribe him, we just teach the dog, I need your attention, I need you to look this way, I need you to come to me. So everything you're doing is getting results because it's actual work. It's not a reward system, it is not a kick your butt system, it's we'll go through this as many times as we have to, it's gonna happen system, okay? Make sense? All right, so now what I want you to do is take your hand off his head again, all right? Perfect, very good job. Hardest part is not pulled on that leash though too, all right? Stand right there. Now what I want you to do is put your hand underneath his muzzle. Yep. Start walking backwards and make a loop towards the box. Just walk backwards. Yep, and start making a loop towards the box. Very good, hands very light. Do you feel any pulling at all? So this is the other thing too. This is no different than having a kid hold your hand. Most people can't touch their dog's mouth, they can't touch their dog's feet, they can't dremel their nails, they can't touch on their stomach, their dog doesn't like it, so they say no. But when you start seeing people touch the dog's mouth, you'll get a big reaction, especially from a dog. I had never seen this dog before. She called this dog very civil. All right, in your terms of civil, what does civil mean?
Non-equipment based, fixated on people.
Non-equipment based, fixated on people in what way? What's he want to do?
Fight them.
Okay, so that's what it is. So civil to her is, dog doesn't need to be agitated, dog doesn't need to see equipment, that dog wants to just take people out. So going up to a dog like that and trying to touch their mouth, 10 times harder than trying to touch a dog's mouth that's super social. And even those super social dogs, they're never gonna let you touch their mouth because they wanna be able to look around, they wanna be able to see things, they wanna be able to smell the ground, they wanna be able to do all that stuff. So I have to get that problem out of our relationship. So if you went to reach for your husband's hand and he pulled away, what would that be a sign of? Ooh, husband would be sleeping on the couch, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
All right, you go to reach for your kid's hand and they pull away from you, what's that a sign of? So we're just showing in those moments, in those times, what happens is if we go to make a connection, a physical connection between you and somebody who shares a good relationship and they decline, that shows you that there's some problems there. So I should never get a decline from reaching to my dog and trying to touch any part of their body, okay? So now go short on your leash. You can go ahead and let go of the mouth. Good, go short on the leash. See where, yes ma'am, she's already getting it down. He started to turn that way because he said she let go. I'm gonna see if I can get away. I want you to now put him up on that box. So just take your right foot, step on that box. Yep, you're doing good, just right there. Start stepping backwards, keep that right foot up there. Yep, step all the way off. Perfect. See how he went to go around? Put your foot back up there.
Oh.
So as soon as she changes her path to the box, guess where the dog goes? As soon as she takes her path from the box, guess where the dog goes? So this is about keeping him on the same exact path. Hold your line just a little bit shorter. A little bit shorter. Now step off the box and keep your arm above the box. Don't let him go around, right? Squat down. Stand up. So invitation is powerful, force is not. So this is where people even talk about, well, why do you use a collar? We use a collar because a collar is less confrontational. In those moments, collar is a lot less confrontational because it doesn't push or pull on the dog. As soon as we start pushing or pulling on the dog, it equals resistance. So the more you try to push and pull on the dog, you're trying to physically force behaviors. And whenever any living being is starting to be forced, right? What happens when they start getting forced? Do we like any of that? Do we want any of that? We don't want any force, do we? All right, so now pick your muzzle up right here. Good. See where she went to make a connection and he turned with her? So he doesn't know this fluidly yet. So there still needs to be a lot of help from her. So just her extending to him caused a really dramatic rotation right there where before it looked like he was declining her. Does that make sense? All right, so how much have we got done and how long have we been recording? 28 minutes and 33 seconds. How long have you had this dog?
13 months.
How many cookies have you given him?
Lots of Royal Canine.
How many goods have you told him?
Thousands.
Thousands? Okay. Which one do you prefer?
This